Did you know that people in Japan covered their mouths when they laugh? But Americans often laugh louder in groups than when alone. Same emotion, different performance. That's society shaping even giggles. But here's the mind-blowing part. Almost everything we do, the way we laugh, flirt, argue, or pose for a selfie, is shaped by invisible social rules. This is the essence of sociological social psychology, that the personal is profoundly social. We're going to unpack the ways that society becomes a part of who we are as individuals, but also help you understand the ways that you can impact society without having to start a whole social movement or becoming an influencer. So welcome to Chapter 1, Introduction to Sociological Social Psychology. Again, this is where we lay the groundwork for understanding the fascinating interplay between the individual and society. Social psychology is the systematic study of how people's thoughts, feelings, and behavior are influenced by social context. We're focusing on sociological social psychology in this class, which means we're looking beyond just what the immediate social environments are around us to consider the broader social factors. It is where the big picture of sociology, the study of society, meets the individual focuses of psychology, the study of human thought processes. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. I love this slide, the society sandwich. The diagram is a little off for sandwich, but I think you're going to get the point. So when sociologists study social psychology, we have to look at society on multiple levels. On the macro level, those are large-scale institutions like the economy, government, education, and family. These are the big rules of social life. There's also the meso level. The meso level is where groups and organizations live. And we live a lot of our lives inside those places. And on the micro level, that's where individuals, that's you and me, interact on the immediate level. Our real situational selves that we're going to talk a little bit later about. These levels are all interconnected. What happens on the macro level can impact you directly on the micro level, and you can have an influence on entire societies. We can also impact society through the groups that we belong to. But it's kind of interesting because we are like a sandwich. We are actually in the middle. I know we have meso listed in the middle of the diagram, but you and I are working on our day-to-day lives. And on the one hand, we have our groups and organizations we belong to. That's a significant part of our social life. But we're also bound by the institutions, our family, our education, and so forth, that influence us. And we're sort of sandwiched in between those two things. One of the goals of this class is to help you have the tools you need to understand yourself better and understand the people around you better. That's what we mean by when we talk about our social psychological toolkit. These are essential concepts for understanding yourself and other people better. Probably the most important one of all of them is the sociological imagination. This is your ultimate tool. It helps you see your personal life in social context. What I mean by social context, I'm talking about human history, all of human history, culture, and the social structures around you. It helps you connect your individual experiences to larger social patterns. Probably the number one thing you want to look at when you're looking and using your imagination to see these things are social norms. These are widely accepted, often unwritten rules or guidelines that regulate our behaviors or even our thoughts in our relationships with other people. Values are those things that are deeply held, ideals and beliefs that underpin a lot of these social norms. But I want to stress with values, they're deeply held. Even though they're coming from society, they're very personal, and it's probably the closest we get to the merger of the self and society. We also have statuses and roles in societies that dictate a lot of what we do. Statuses refer to all your positions in a group or the whole society, often associated with different levels of prestige, power, and respect. So think of things like student, employee, or parent, and how much power they have in different social contexts. Roles are the expectations that go along with all these different statuses, and so sometimes we just sort of put together statuses and roles, but they are technically different things. But roles, again, are focused on those expectations. So what do you expect a student to do? So let's take a moment to reflect on what we just did and look at this picture and apply those tools to understand what is going on in this scenario. A very common situation which a teacher has a group of students and they're all raising their hands to answer a question. So what are the norms that we can deduct from analyzing this simple picture? One, obviously, is that you're supposed to raise your hand in order to answer a question or to speak. This also speaks to an underlying value, and that value in this case is of order and respect, in this case, respect for the teacher's authority. But there's also statuses involved, right? You have the student status and then the higher status of the teacher. And finally, we have role expectations. The teacher is the one who calls on people to speak or to answer questions, and the students are the ones who are expected to answer those questions or to speak when called upon. And when you go into different social situations, you should be thinking to yourself, what are the norms that play in this particular scenario? What are the values people bring into this scenario? What are their statuses and roles? And you put together a story for each one of them. And when you do that, then you can start predicting what are they going to do in any particular scenario? What am I likely to do in that particular scenario? And that is the power of this toolkit for unpacking the meanings of everyday life. Ever felt like your life was a script that you're unconsciously following? Maybe it is the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you meet someone for the first time or answer the phone, like, hello, how are you? Or something like that. That's society's institutions and culture at play. Social institutions are stable patterns of behavior guided by norms and roles and all of the things we've talked about up to this point. They include things like the economy, government, family, religion, and education. And when you think about it, the vast majority of our life is encapsulated in those 5 institutions. Culture is simply the unique ways that we live out those institutions, the beliefs we have about the world around us. Culture exists on the micro level and the macro level. It's kind of like the personality of the groups in the society that we live in. It includes things like the language of that particular group, its symbols, its values and beliefs, its norms, and material culture as well. Institutions and culture provide the broad framework in which we live our lives. Let's look at how our culture can influence our everyday values and beliefs. And this particular survey asked from people around the world. They ask how much people believe that success in life is determined by outside forces. In America, just 31% of people agree with that statement. Compare that to Russia, with 62% believing that the world controls what they do on a day-to-day basis. Now, what do you know about the U.S. culture and Russian culture, or what's going on in the world today that might influence why the Russians believe so differently about this concept than Americans? In this class, we'll also incorporate the concept of digital sociology, an emerging field in which we study how people interact with their digital environments. Many populations now live in what we call a socio-material world, where humans and non-humans interact on a regular basis, including AI. Technology in this world is imbricated in what we do. It's not a separate aspect of human life. Think this is just theory for tests? Think again. The skills you learn in this class are like a secret weapon for any career that you involve people. While there are a few jobs that are titled social psychologists, understanding how society influences individuals can help you in many fields like human resources, where understanding group dynamics and employee motivations are important, marketing and advertising, public relations, counseling and social work, law and criminal justice, where analyzing group behavior and social norms is important. They can also help you personally, and you can use those tools to create new things. Consider these 2 influencers, Amelia Liana, who was born in London and studied sociology at the university. She founded her website, amelialiana.com, in her final year at the university, and the online site offers advice on how to feel revitalized. The articles on the website teach you how to follow the most recent trends, and her vlogs have become extremely popular, where she has nearly 600,000 followers on Instagram and 60 million likes on TikTok. Nabila Noor is an American entrepreneur and an online influencer. Noor is known for her YouTube channel where she shares makeup tutorials, product reviews on cosmetics, and vlogs about beauty and her life as a Muslim American. If I do my job well, you should leave this class with the ability to dissect each and every social interaction you have the rest of your life. So wish me luck, just like I wish you luck the rest of this semester.